Okay, right, so I've made this video to explain the problem that a couple of people have had with their Technics turntable, where you'll have certain things happen that are a bit weird with it, and sometimes you'll power it up and it will just completely whiz round faster and faster like that. So this is actually it's quite a common fault with the main PCB. So what I'm going to do is just show you how to get to that part, and most of the time it would just be if you resolder it, just reflow it with a bit of solder. Yeah, it can like eliminate that problem. So first thing you'll need to do is take off this platter. Normally it should be quite easy, straightforward to take this off. You do have some that can be quite stubborn, but you basically you know, put your thumbs in these holes here. You might take a couple of tugs to see it come off there. Under this platter, excuse the state of this deck, this is just one that I've had to the side for a while. So yeah, you've got 5 screws here which hold this plastic cover in. Yeah, so remove these 5 screws. Just take this one out here. I've got this one, and then underneath you've got this PCB here. So what we're going to do is we're going to take out this PCB and check the underside for any sort of bad soldering, that sort of thing. This one's probably okay as it doesn't have that problem, but I'll show you exactly where to check. So first of all, what we're going to do is we're going to remove these 3 screws here. They're quite long pin screws, so make sure you put them in a safe place. And then we're going to remove the screws that hold in this PCB. So there's one in the bottom left corner. Remember there's an earth wire as well connected there, so we'll take that out. Bottom right hand corner, take that screw out, and then just near the blue pitch pot, bottom right, also remove this. Now this is like a brace that holds there's another transistor down onto some zinc paste, so just carefully remove the bracket. And oh, so that comes off, and then that should just lift up. Just leave that loose for the time being. You want to unplug the light lamp at the top like so, and there's one at the bottom which is a big chunky connector. Should just come out. Yes, this should be ready to flip over now. So what I'm going to do is flip this over. Now it's attached this side, but to get to it you should be fine. So if we just lift this, there's a spindle which should come away underneath. You take the spindle out, it goes back in. It's got a notch which just goes in, so you'll see how it goes in. Like I say, there's a transistor here, and we're just going to check the soldering on that. This normally sits underneath. It's a little bit tricky to get to. Okay, so the Q201 resistor may or may not be covered by another component. Depends on what PCB it is. But you can see on here, Q201 there, which is these 3 pins just above where it says ECB. So it's basically these pins that we're interested in. I've got another PCB here. If it is a case that you have this component slightly covering that, what you want to do is just carefully remove. It's just like a kind of like resin that holds it down. Just carefully like move this up and get to under here basically, and yeah, resolder them 3 pins. So to put it back in, first of all, your spindle, then get your PCB, and I'm going to move that out of the way. Should just, yep, should just sit back in. Just make sure all these holes kind of lined up. Yep, sweet. So we had the screw here, put that in, put the PCB screws in first, screw here, on the third screw down this bottom corner, make sure you attach the earth wire, which should be on a loop, to the PCB and screw as you removed before. And be careful that you don't get the wires trapped in underneath, which can be a bit tricky. Depends on, this one's been tie wrapped a bit awkwardly, but yeah. Okay, let's put the resistor on, put the transistor back in. 2 screws each side, just make sure it's clamped in against that zinc paste. And then finally the 3 long screws, you need to put them in and tighten them up. Don't over tighten anything, just like, you know, obviously just to the biting point, don't leave them loose. Make sure you plug everything back in. You've got your lamp at the top. Your pitch, if that's, I mean, this is just, you normally got your pitch comes in here and the bottom. Put your plastic cover back on, do up the screws. And put your platter back on. Should just slot in place. Give it a bit of a spin, just make sure nothing's rubbing on it. That should be all ready to test.